back to Crochet Along with Miss Carol. I'm Carol Leeson from the Bloomingdale Public Library, and you are here with our new series called Crochet Skills with Miss Carol. Today, the skill that we're going to work on is this new stitch called the half double crochet. We have learned the single crochet, and the single crochet makes it very tight. This is an example of single crochet. And you'll see that there's a single or a very low stitch here. What we're going to work on today is increasing the size of that stitch by one loop. You'll see here from the one I just did that there are 3 loops that I've gone through on my yarn. And to do that, before I go under my stitch, before I insert in my stitch, I'm going to yarn over and put a loop on my hook. Then I go through the stitch below that I'm working in. I yarn over and pull a loop through. So now I have 3 stitches on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and go through 1, 2, 3 stitches, and I'll know I've done it right when holding that loop in place are the 3 stitches from my previous stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, go through my stitch, pull up a loop, and we have 3 stitches, 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over and go through all 3. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through all 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through all 3. Now let's take a look at this. You'll see down here, this is my single crochet, and there is 1 little loop of yarn around each of those stitches. When we look at my half double, you'll see that there is that one there, but there's also this one that goes diagonal, and then there's this loop here. Okay, you see how those look different? You've got 2 here, this way and that way. This one goes under this stitch here, and that's a little taller. I'm going to do these all the way down to the end of my swatch. This is a nice stitch to use for like a baby blanket or a blanket in general, or I like to use it when I'm making tops because there's not a lot of holes in it. You're not going to see through it too badly. So it makes a nice tight, but it covers much more space than a single crochet, and you'll make progress faster on what you're doing. And it uses less yarn. All right, so now I'm at the end. Now remember when we did our single crochets, when we got to the end, we made a turning chain. But this stitch is a little taller than our single crochet, so I'm going to do 2 chains for my turning chain to make a 2 chain turning chain for my half double crochet. Turn my work, and then I'm going to go back the other direction, doing the same thing. Yarn over, go through, yarn over, pull up your loop. You have 3 loops. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. through all 3 loops, all the way down. Now, I have had some of my students complain that when they're practicing, they don't like such a short piece or swatch to practice on. And that's fine. When you're creating your practice swatch and you're starting to practice, you can do 15 chains, you can do 20, so you have a longer time to practice each stitch before you have to turn around. But while I'm teaching, I like to have a shorter time because then we can get to the next part of the lesson more quickly. Now see here how this looks different than our single crochet did, and we can see the turning chain here. I want to make sure that I'm going into the last stitch and pull it through. That's why putting a stitch into the first stitch of a new row helps you see where that stitch is. I'm going to chain 2. Now, some of your patterns will tell you that your chain 2 at the beginning of a row counts as your first half double crochet. If your pattern tells you that it does, then you do not want to crochet into this spot. You want to crochet into the second because this counts as stitch 1. So we're going to yarn over, go through here, bring it up, and bring it around. And in this case, you would want to put your marker through this last chain on that chain 2. This is where you're going to work into coming back instead of this one. Make sure that you count your stitches. I'm doing a 10 stitch swatch, so when I get down to the end, I want to make sure that I still have 10 stitches in each row. You keep practicing that. Practice the ones where you're going to count that chain in and skip that, so that counts as 1 chain, and practice ones that you don't count that turning chain and that you do a stitch in there. Just don't count it and start right here. Have a happy time stitching, and always come back to the Crochet Along with Miss Carol to check and see what we have to learn next.